Hi, and welcome to Amanda Dabbles. If you're new here, I will link my channel intro so that you can get a sense of what I'm doing here, but otherwise, welcome back. Today, we are dabbling in markers. I have a lot of markers over here, and I've got my overhead camera set up again, and I want to explore the difference between water-based markers and alcohol-based markers. This is something that I had no idea was a thing until the past few years. And when I was pregnant, I was really interested in trying out some water-based markers. So I went ahead and bought this 60-pack of Ohuhu markers. You can see that there's a decent variety of colors there. And Ohuhu is also really well known for creating good alcohol ink markers. So alcohol markers are interesting because they apparently are just really good for blending. You know, you can keep blending them with each other and they won't make the paper all saturated because, you know, alcohol evaporates. I think that must have something to do with it. So alcohol markers I have here are from a different brand called CaliArt. I got these on Amazon recently. They were pretty cheap and on sale. And both of these brands, I think the CaliArt markers, you know, from reviews looked pretty good, but definitely Ohuhu is consistently ranked as a really good, cheap, budget-friendly version of Copic markers. And so those are the kind of industry gold standard for alcohol markers. And they're expensive. Like I think each marker, like one marker is like, I don't know, $4 or $5, which is a lot. It adds up, you know, when you're talking about 60 plus colors that you're trying to have. So I have my water here. I'm probably going to be drinking from it some because I'm thinking that the alcohol markers, I don't know, I'm wondering what the fume situation is going to be like. That's something I'm like curious / concerned about, and it was part of the reason that I've put off getting them for so long. But you know, I'm sure it's fine. I know a lot of people use them. I'm just very sensitive. Like my throat and my nose are very sensitive to different smells and fumes and things like that. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna turn on my overhead camera, and I went ahead and just created this blank paper with a line down the middle so that we can compare. And I'm going to move these water markers over to my left hand side just to kind of keep them separate. I'm going to try to grab a blue that I feel like looks comparable from both. I think those look pretty similar. And they both have a dual tip. One of them has a brush tip. This is the water-based Ohuhu marker, and then the other one has a fine tip. I'm not sure if the brush tip is specifically because it's a water-based marker or if that's just how Ohuhu does all of their dual tip markers, but this one is the alcohol one as a reminder. So that's our first color. Let's try to find another similar color so we can compare as well as possible. This one looks kind of similar to this one, maybe. That's fairly close. Let's see, what other things do we have here? Okay, I think these are close enough that we can get a sense for the differences. Like, I'm not trying to compare the colors themselves. I'm trying to compare specifically how they blend, because that's supposed to be the real difference with alcohol-based markers, is they're supposed to blend much better. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do I'm gonna use the broad tip on both so that it's comparable as well. I'm just gonna do some broad strokes like that. Okay, so that's I'm gonna go ahead and write at the top here. So these keep rolling. I'm gonna put them over here. Actually, maybe that's one of my initial reviews of the marker brands themselves, the Ohuhu ones don't have any way to stop them from rolling, whereas these CaliArt ones actually do have these little ridges on the caps that I think help it not roll away from you. All right, let's see what this is like. Wow, that is super dark. Yep, there's the smell. That is definitely a noticeable smell. Okay, so upon first glance, you can see more of the paper texture with the Ohuhu one, the water-based one. I feel like that kind of makes sense to me based on what I know about alcohol versus water-based markers. Like water markers, the water like seeps into the paper more, and that can cause like sogginess if you try to layer too much marker on top of each other, etc. Like it's similar to if you've ever worked with watercolors, right? Like the paper can only take so much wet before it starts to disintegrate and stuff. And I feel like you can just see some of this paper texture. And I know if I kept layering up marker and marker and marker on that, it would eventually become a problem. This doesn't look like that at all. This just looks like, I don't know. This looks like so crisp. It's very interesting. Okay. Now I'm gonna try this next. I'm using the broad tip. I have to remind myself. I'm gonna try this next color, and I'm gonna try to like blend it. Okay, so that doesn't really blend very well, and you can see what I'm talking about with like the saturation and like, I don't know. Oh look, there's disintegrated paper. It's already happening. But I want to try putting some water on the water one and see if that like helps it blend or what it does to it, and then the alcohol one as well. I feel like should be like impervious to the water. All right, I'm gonna go in with the alcohol and also do the same thing over here. Okay, that's not really like blending at all like I thought it might. And man, that is really smelly. That might be the only thing that puts me off of alcohol markers. Like I said, I'm weird. I don't know, my throat is just very sensitive. All right, our last color on the water side, those little bits of paper. And then our last color on the alcohol side. Oh, that's not the same color at all, is it? Yeah, that would have been a little bit closer. Oh well. Okay, this really isn't blending like I thought it would. Actually, I take that back. This is blending a little bit. I just saw this color kind of change a bit. This is a colorless blender for the alcohol markers. That's having an interesting effect on the ink that I laid down. I really kind of thought it was just gonna make this like nice, smooth, like when I see people use alcohol markers in the past, I feel like the drawings, the colors, the coloring pages, the things that they do with them are just so beautiful, so crisp, seamless blending. And I don't know if this is probably user error because I've never used these before, but this is not what I was expecting it to look like. I kind of thought if I just, you know, colored over the same color that it would blend a little bit better. And then the colorless blender, this looks funky to me. Also could be the paper. That is possible. I'm not sure what kind of paper is best to blend alcohol markers out. You know, I don't know how much it interacts with paper or seeps into the paper or anything like that. I have no idea. I'm gonna go ahead and try water test now. Sorry, it's really squeaky. That's a lot of water. And I don't have like a towel or anything nearby. So this is kind of what I was wondering. Like, I feel like using water-based markers, you can almost like use them like watercolors in some way. But yeah, like it interacts with the water the same way that like a watercolor pigment paint would. Okay, now I'm curious what if the water does anything to the alcohol side. Oh wow, that's very interesting. I mean, it's not super surprising, but like, look at that. It doesn't run at all with the water. I guess that's like just chemistry, science. That's how things work. I feel like you could take both together. If you were creating certain artwork, you could use the alcohol markers in some places that you didn't want to bleed, and then you could use the water-based markers in other places, especially if you wanted to get a kind of like watercolory type effect. That would be kind of cool. I might try that out sometime just for fun. I made this very wet, this page. This is another interesting part. This is just to contain the mess that I created a little bit while we wait for the water to dry. That's interesting. So putting the water on top of the ink, I think, or maybe this was just where I used the colorless blender, but it made it bleed through the page, whereas the water-based one didn't bleed through the page at all. Interesting. You know what? I'm feeling up for it. I'm gonna go ahead and do what I said about creating a piece of artwork that has some things that bleed and some things that don't. And I'm just gonna think of what to make really quickly. This is gonna be more doodly than like proper artwork also. I think proper artwork would be very cool. I've got it. I've got an idea. I'm gonna put it together. I'm gonna record it. I'm gonna speed it up for you to watch, and maybe you can like guess before it's revealed like what it's gonna be. That could be a fun game. Here we go. Alright, so what I drew very quickly was just, I don't know, a figure of somebody looking outside to the outside world, and it's raining. I've had the idea of making everything in the scene with alcohol markers and then making the rain outside with water marker and then trying to get it wet and trying to kind of make like a splashed effect that would create some like water, like actual water droplets that would like dry on the page. A few reflections and using this to create an actual something rather than just blocking out some color. Very smelly. Alcohol markers definitely have a stench to them. And I think that that's just unavoidable, right? Because alcohol evaporates at room temperature, so of course, when you open it up, that's happening. The alcohol scent particles are entering into your nostrils because the alcohol has turned into vapor. Another thing is I did not wait for the purple to completely dry, I think, before I attempted the water. So you can see that it did bleed a little bit on that side, which is the side that I did last. So that kind of makes sense. But just like a note for if you ever are thinking of doing something similar. And sketching beforehand probably would have been a good idea. I mean, again, I wasn't going for a masterpiece here, but that would have made it better. I pivoted to making the curtains purple instead of blue because I realized that I was going to try to make the rain like the same color blue as the curtains. And then, yeah, I also realized I'm not very good at like staying inside the lines or not running into other lines. This I kind of gave up on, but I was going to make it like a bench, and then I was like, I don't want to like put down a bunch of marker on that bit. I'm just going to leave it how it is. Oh, and then also the importance of like thinking about your background and your foreground. Like obviously when you have darker colors, they're going to cover up lighter colors. So, you know, you just have to be intentional about that with your planning, which I wasn't. I was just winging it. But yeah, all in all, I'm glad that I finally tried these markers. I've been wanting to do this for a little while, and always grateful for this space that I'm carving out to try new things and dabble and explore. And so grateful for you for being here, for watching this video, for being along this journey with me. So I just wanted to say thanks as always, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.